ladies and gents, boys and girls, and welcome back to another episode of Cup of TCG. My name is Kyle, and joining me is a whole house of the Cup of TCG squad. We got Noah, we got Callum, and Finley down in the corner as well. A new set is on the horizon and soon to be released in just a few short days. But before that point, it's time for the pre-release, baby. The Hunted is here, and the boys got their hands on the set a little bit early at the world premiere in Prague. Every single one of them playing all of the heroes, getting a little bit of experience underneath their belt, and, well, they kind of pocketed themselves into mini specialists before this kicks off. So, here's your primer. Here's exactly what you need to know so you don't get blindsided by the super aggressive set of the Hunted. Let's kick straight into this one. The Hunted brings us 3 brand new heroes. Arakni, a returning face. This time, he's the web of the seat, and he's brought a load of gang of Araknis with him as well. Cindra and Fang, the 2 new draconic heroes, joining the fray. Incredibly aggressive, and a lot of attack reactions going on between all 3 of these. Starting with the alphabet, we're going to start with Arakni. Finley has got the lowdown for you on the assassin returning once again. Finley, give us a quick rundown on what the new Arakni does and is looking to do in this set.
Arakni's back, and this time he comes with an actual hero ability. Your basic game plan with Arakni is you want to mark your opponent, present a disruptive attack that's enabled by the mark, and then if they block the attack, you get to flip into an Agent of Chaos, which will then guarantee you land a disruptive effect later on in the game, or you get a nice trap to defend yourself with. Danger Digits is like a key card, a key equipment piece for Arakni. It's not required to play him, but if you get it, it unlocks a lot of the cool lines in the deck. It allows you to mark in the reaction step with your daggers, which then enables the base Arakni's ability, so you can pump over blocks. Nice cheeky trick there. It's unpreventable damage, so your opponent can never go to 1 while Danger Digits exists, and you have a dagger. And you know, if you pump a stealth attack over by 1, you get go again with the Web of Deceit ability, and you can present another attack. Really good equipment piece for the hero.
Baby flick knives. I'm here for it.
Yeah.
Give us a rundown of some of these new cards then, Finley. What are you looking out for to say, hey, you are playing Arakni in Sealed?
Yeah, Arakni's game plan revolves, I think, around Graphene Calicera. Basically, you break your daggers, and then you need to replace them. And Graphene Calicera is much more powerful than the Mark of the Huntsman. It is a Kodachi when your opponent's marked, which lets you lean into like a fatigue plan. It has stealth, and all of the offensive Agents of Chaos trigger on attacks that have stealth, so you can pump this and give it a disruptive effect, which makes it incredibly hard for your opponent to block you properly. And if you're the base Arakni, this comes in for 2 go again if they're marked, so you have an unbreakable Zephyr Needle, and it means your late game is really unstoppable. Like, your opponents are really going to struggle to deal with that. That means you really want to prioritize a few cards like Orbweaver Spinneret that lean into equipping this dagger, because if you break your Mark of the Huntsman and you don't have any of these in your deck, you are going to be stuck waiting until you roll the Agent of Chaos that lets you equip the dagger. And you can be really in trouble at that point because you'll have very inefficient turns. So cards like Orbweaver Spinneret and the stealth attack that equip Graphene Calicera, really good. Other key cards for Arakni are the defense reactions of the set. Arakni's fortunate in that he can run all of them apart from the draconic one. The defense reactions are particularly good in this format because it is hard to block in the defense step because there are 2 heroes that really rely on attack reactions. So this way they let you block efficiently. Both these D-reacts also let you mark, which lets you flip into an Agent of Chaos. And whilst they're both conditional on effects like go again and higher power than their base, these basically always trigger. So you're always marking. One of the deck building requirements for Arakni is the number of stealth cards in the deck, and I would say you want about 15 of them, which can be tricky with a sealed pool. You probably don't want to go lower than like 12. You need stealth cards because all of the Arakni hero abilities are dependent on this keyword. You can only use the Agents of Chaos on attacks with stealth, and a Web of Deceit only works on attacks that have stealth too. What's good about the stealth cards is that they have a nice sort of split between disruption, like Mark of the Black Widow, and utility, like Reaper's Call, with this card behaving sort of similarly to the Flick Knives equipment piece, because it lets you mark in the reaction step when your opponent isn't expecting it and pump an attack over. And what's great about these assassin stealth cards is that the Agents of Chaos let you convert all of these blue cards, these bad blue cards, into 3 power. So really, really strong. What you have to remember quickly, if you're playing Arakni, is that the Draconic equipment is all active into you, which means your Draconic opponents have really scary equipment pieces into you, and they can catch you by surprise by getting like a free tunic or a free breaking scales in the reaction step, or they can mark you at reaction speed. So bear that in mind if you're going to play Arakni.
Arakni done and dusted. Thanks for the rundown, Finley. That brings us to newest girl on the scene, it being Cindra. And Callum, not only have you had a little bit of experience with this, I think pre-release you've got a full deck built for her as well. You've committed in pretty hard here. I'm here for it. Let's hear what you got to say about it.
Yep. So as your local mid-range player, who's really an aggro player, I have committed pretty hard into playing Cindra. I played her quite a lot over the weekend. Really fun deck. Yeah, and she does some numbers, I can tell you that. So game plan for Cindra, she's really looking to get the most value out of both of her Kunai of Retribution throughout the game. She plays this really cool mini game of what I like to call the Kunai economy, which is how you start and end your turn with how many Kunais you have. So you may need the Draconic chain links, but you may also need to break the chain to make it efficient for you to end the turn with some daggers, or with 1 dagger rather than starting a turn with nothing. How can you get rid of your daggers while still being on the chain? If you've seen anything about what Cindra might potentially do in Classic Constructed, you know that Flick Knives is going to be an absolute powerhouse, and we have got, like Carl said earlier, mini Flick Knives in the format. Danger Digits, again, Finley spoke about it in Arakni, but I think this is even better in Cindra, specifically for what you're trying to do with keeping those daggers rolling.
Flick Knives at home making another appearance, which is pretty damn cool. Give us a rundown of some of the cards. We've got Demonstrate Devotion and Archdragon Fire as our first ones.
So Demonstrate Devotion is an example of one of the fealty generators in Cindra. It's a good rate. It's a 1-for-4 go again, and there's no condition. It just makes the fealty. There's a 0-for-3 version, which is similar. The need to mark in Cindra is lower than, for example, Arakni. However, the fealties have really good payoff. So whether you have a mix of the fealty generators or marking cards, the fealties are put to good use with cards like Art of the Dragonfire, which is like a Valiant Thrust that is partly unpreventable, as well as Dragon Power and a couple of the other Art of the Dragon cards. Yeah, if you do get some marking cards, they are quite easy to use because you get to flick a dagger, and the daggers are hard to block, so you will convert the marking into fealties. So what is Cindra? She's an aggro deck, and what we need in an aggro deck is good numbers. And 2 examples of some great numbers are Grow Claws, which is a 1-for-5 go again almost all the time, and Blaze Headlong. Tell me if you've seen this card before. Scar for a Scar in the set, and easier to get to work, to be honest. Yep, just really, really good rates and help your turns go wider, bigger. We saw some 17, 18 big damage turns in limited, with obviously help from cards like these.
Absolute House in Uprising makes sense that the next Draconic set reprints it and says, oh, actually, this card's still good, especially when everything's red, right? So, yeah, nice to see. Well, not nice to see him back, but he returns either way as a 0-4.
So, Cindra's weapons are part of the reason to play her. She has Kadachis, right? But with less conditions. Problem is, they break. So how do you get extra value out of those weapons before you break them? You use something like Poison Blade, which is dealing extra damage, including when you flick the daggers. So if you have Danger Digits, you will flick the dagger, it will hit, and they will lose an extra life. So the life total breakpoints that you can go to versus Cindra is pretty scary. You definitely never go to 1 if you can help it. Sometimes you are forced into that position, but if you can avoid going as low as possible, then that's what you've got to do. Burning Blade Dance is an example of one of the flicking effects. There's plenty of them in this set. Pick the Draconic Ninja one because it blocks 3. she also blocks pretty well for some reason. But this is, like I said, it's a Draconic chain link. It's an extender. If it forces interaction, it asks them to block it, because if it hits, you're going to do an extra bit of damage. And every time you flick a dagger on the chain is another dagger that you get to re-equip easier with Cindra's hero ability. So if you have a turn where you, for example, go 4 chain links wide and you have flicked one with a Burning Blade Dance and you flick one with your Dangerous Digits, you get to activate Cindra for free, get both the daggers back, and you just keep on rolling next turn. So the dagger economy, again, really, really important in this hero. A couple of things to watch out for as Cindra. You have a rare equipment suite in the set called the Blade Beckoner suite, I think it's called. This rare equipment suite has got Guardwell, and it gets extra value from blocking both attack action cards and weapon attacks. So if your opponent has a couple of them, I didn't see too many people with 2, but if your opponent has that, plus there's a lot of blocking equipment in this set, that can be a little bit difficult for you. Also, Cindra mirrors aren't particularly fun, guys. They're a bit dice rolly, so you got to sort of leverage what you can if you lose a few dice rolls in the Cindra mirror. But look, if you win the dice roll, you get to go second. You are big favoured.
Appreciate the rundown. Might even show you some ways of potentially counteracting that Cindra mirror later on when we get to our generic section. But before we get to that, we've still got one more hero. We can't leave the Draconic Warrior out of the fray, and we can't leave Noah sitting down there in the dark on his own either. Noah, give us a rundown of this warrior.
So, Fang in Limited is I feel like he's very aggressive. A lot of his game plan revolves around the Draconic attack reactions that buff his weapon, and then you also get an extra +1 value. So even if your attack reactions that you think aren't quite as good, they only pump in for 2, you get extra value from the weapon itself. You also, if you hit a mark target, you get fealties. You can play non-Draconic ones as well, depending on how many fealties you've got. But a lot of those cards all block 2, so I feel like you have to be quite aggressive in the format with Fang. One of the main pieces of equipment, I think, is the Coat of Allegiance, because it allows you to have 1 card plays with some Draconic cards, and it also allows you to, if you're running a bit light on resources for the turn, you can crack this, swing with your weapon, and then you can use whatever other cards you have for resources. So if you end up drawing a 4 red card hand, you can still have a functional turn.
So that's a little bit of the play style. Give us a rundown of some of the cards that you're probably going to be looking out for, Noah, if you want to play Fang.
So as I said, a lot of his game plan revolves around these Draconic attack reactions. The example on the screen is a Firm Loyalty, which is a rare, which allows you need to get to the second chain link to get the extra effect, but it's just a 0 cost 2, which pumps the dagger to an extra 1. So it's still playable on the first chain link, but really you want to be getting to the second. And the best way to really do that, in my opinion, is to play the Draconic instants that you have available, such as Pledge Fealty, or the other one that gives +3 to your next Draconic attack. This allows you to pitch, attack with your weapon. Hopefully your opponent overblocks it with a 3 block, and then you play this, and it just goes on to the next chain link, and then you can swing and get the extra effects from a lot of the Draconic attack reactions that get the extra value for being on that second chain link. But there are other cards that allow you to extend or go play 1 card first and then go into your weapon. Those are also viable. As Fang's hero ability relies on you being able to hit a mark hero to make fealties, and for you need fealties to have a good game plan and to get efficient turns later on. You need cards that mark them. Now, these 2 examples that we have here, Scar Tissue is a generic, and there are multiple Draconic attack reactions that do mark. These ones are very, very playable, because they allow you to, even if you don't get to the second chain link, you can still mark, and then hopefully on the next turn you can then get an attack, hit, and make a fealty, or you can get multiple marks and multiple fealties within a turn, and that just ends up powering your turns later on. Den of the Spider and Smokeout are the 2 D-reacts you should be keeping an eye on. They don't go in on the same matchups, but Den of the Spider comes in for the Fang mirror, and then Smokeout really comes in for either one of the other 2. But you could play Den of the Spider and Smokeout in either Fang and an Arakni games. But they're just good ways of marking outside of combat. And these ones I think are quite important. So for example, Hunt the Hunter, you want to go, these are for your bigger turns where you go attack with weapon, draconic attack reaction, second weapon, draconic attack reaction. Hopefully, if they cost 0 or your fealties are online, you can then play Hunt the Hunter at the end. So you go like 5-5-5. That's 15 damage turn with with good numbers, and it's split across breakpoints. And for the Drakai, which is the other one, hopefully you would have attacked with attack reaction, which then marks, and then you play this, you instantly get a fealty. And also, these cards also block 3, which not a lot of the cards do. So you can either block with these, or you can block with redundant cards in your hand. So they're good to have in your deck. So a word on the equipment that you might play in Limited. You could play the Leapfrog equipment, which allows you to go across 2 chain links. So Fang has to attack with his weapons. When he attack reacts, you just block with the first one. And on the second one, if he attack reacts again, you can move it across. You get 2 value from them. Red Alert is quite simple. You just block with them, and if he attack reacts, then it gets +2. It's a pretty good equipment. And the Blade Mechano equipment, rare equipment, will get value from Fang. Easier than the other heroes, but they're still good.
Cool. Well, thanks for the rundown on all the heroes, boys. Now you've left me with the generic heat. There's still some good cards to come, even if they don't fit directly into the class ecosystems. Anyone can run this one. It's a 0 for 4 that blocks 3. I mean, it's one of 3 generic cards that now exist in Flesh and Blood with this stat line. It's 4, it's a breakpoint, it blocks 3, it exists, doesn't cost you anything, and it has text, which is also really good. So if you are playing Aurora, yes, you can mark a hero if you really wanted to, but not really something that is going to be too necessary. All in all, look out for this one. 0 for 4 is unlimited, pretty damn good. People don't want to be blocking. Relentless Pursuit. First things first, this essentially makes you fatigue proof, because if you've attacked this turn already, it goes to the bottom of your deck. And you can recycle it and recycle it again, and it's constantly a blue, and we know how strong these type of effects in Flesh and Blood are when they are just constantly recurring, going to the bottom of your deck. And also, it's a blue block 3. We know how just strong these are in general inside of the CC format. Being able to do that inside a Limited as well, having an incredibly flexible card that not only marks in a limited set that requires a lot of marking for all 3 heroes that exist, but also being a pitch outlet and in a pinch blocking for that ever-elusive 3, incredibly important. And this one's, well, heat, a little bit more fringe heat, sideboard heat, if you will. Calming Breeze is a 0 cost generic instant that says the next 3 times you would be dealt damage this turn felt 1 of that damage. Now, you might notice that almost every single weapon that you've seen in the previous sections have all attacked for 1 base, including Cindra. Cindra, the one who likes doing all that unpreventable damage by flicking daggers left, right, and centre to get these additional on-hits and potentially continuing those chain links. Well, actually, no. Here comes Calming Breeze to prevent that damage and waste those flicking effects. Incredibly good into the mirror if you are Cindra playing against a Cindra, and also incredibly good if you are just playing against Cindra anyway. It can be brought into your Arachnes, it can be brought in to your Fangs as well, but playing this against Cindra is where you're going to be seeing the most dominant performance of this card. The fact that it shares an effect of a Majestic in this set as well, one of the new defense reactions, is also pretty damn cool. So if you pull that Majestic, then hey, take it for the same reasons that you would take this Calming Breeze. And I think that is everything. A very quick rundown of the 3 new heroes and the 3 classes that come into this new limited set. Now that we've done the kind of high level talking about who you want to be picking and depending on what your seal pool looks like, guys, a little bit of the experience. Like, you've all played this set to death at this point from the world premiere. Callum, how did you like it over the weekend?
Yeah, I think the format's really fun. It definitely feels a lot more fast-paced, a lot more higher power than a limited format like Rosetta. But I think it's got just as much nuance in what you can do depending on your matchups. I think one of the biggest tips we got over the weekend was from Chris Ayali himself. He sort of said to us about having a sideboard plan for every matchup, whether that be your equipment, your defense reactions, your calming breezes, whatever it might be. There's a lot of room in this set to edit your deck between games, and we were building decks, and we were sort of like, it was only really Cindra that was going, maybe I can just play the same 30 into every deck just because it's that aggressive. But you really can have a 25 card, 27 card deck and have a huge sideboard plan for any matchup. So I like that element of nuance in the format for sure.
That sounds great. Finley, what about yourself? How did you enjoy playing this set?
Yeah, I also really, really enjoyed this set. I think there's a lot of depth in all of the heroes. I thought Arakni was... when I first saw Arakni, I really didn't like the design. I thought it was too random, but after playing Arakni through 2 sealed pools, it was brilliant fun to play. It didn't feel too powerful, like too overpowered or anything like that, or too horribly random. Very good. I mean, and whilst the format is really aggressive, you also end up in a fatigue state in a lot of games. I had my first true draw ever in Fab, where I had no weapons and my opponent had no cards in deck, and I had no cards in deck.
Oh,
so,
okay.
It's a very interesting format, and I really like Arakni. It might make me play Assassin. We'll see.
Whoa. Bad news for Finley's bank account. Codex of Frailties inside of the card market order.
It's looking desperate.
Noah, what about yourself? Obviously, it sounds like you had a great time with Fang. Give us a rundown of what the World Premiere was like.
I think it was probably the best sealed event I've played in recently. I think it's extremely high power, as demonstrated by one of my games where I killed my opponent from 10 after he bought 5. So,
all right.
Yeah, it just goes to show you the power of what these heroes can do. And I think you do need to keep in mind on your distribution of your reds and your blues. You do need in all of these heroes a good amount of blues to be functional. But outside of that, very, very fun. And I would say Fang's probably the most fun, but it's just me.
Not biased or anything. Definitely not. Yeah. Very, very bummed out that I couldn't make it to the World Premiere, guys, but it sounds like you guys had a great time. If any of you have seen our YouTube shorts, they had a pretty monetarily good weekend as well, pulling some absolute heat. Namingly a cold foil Master Momentum from an Alpha pack, which is crazy. And then a Marvel Rosetta as well from some random Rosetta packs, because of course you do. And I think Noah opened a case of the Hunted and got loads of crazy stuff from that as well. So the luck is with us on the Cuppa side of things, and we hope that the luck is in your favour when you open up these packs as well. The pre-release for the Hunted should be this weekend. Spread some love at your local LGS and enjoy the set. We are definitely going to our locals as well. Hope this helped. Thanks for watching, guys. We'll see you soon. Peace.